if you're going to go create a light bulb, why don't you start where Thomas Edison left off, not before he started conducting his research and tested 8,000 different filaments, right? To find the best burning one.
Hey, Craig, let's get into some coffee talk.
Hey, I love it. I love doing some coffee talk.
Well, talk about what?
Dogs, daughters, whatever. It's coffee talk.
Coffee talk.
Hey, Mr. Jason.
Craig.
I'm going to tell a story that I think is funny because of a couple reasons. And then at the same time, we're both going to figure out how to tie that back to how, in some way, it can help with insurance and either marketing your agency or one of the 4 pillars, right? Hiring.
Your agency.
No, your agency. So what does my hat say on it?
Whistler.
Whistler. If anybody is familiar, it's a little town up in beautiful British Columbia. Has good skiing and all that. I haven't gone skiing there, but my wife and I went there, and I was thinking, when was that? As I was looking at this hat, and interestingly, I get a text from my wife just a few minutes ago that had a picture from when we were in Whistler, and it was 3 years ago. But that's not the funny story. So when we were there, when we were there, we went to this. It was a Scandinavian bathhouse. Now stay with me.
What?
Okay. I'm like, is there hot water? Do we have to go sit in hot water? Yes. Okay. That sounds good to me. So we go there and we get in and they say, okay, there's no talking on the premises. And I'm like, oh, well, this is not going to be fun, right? First of all, I'm thinking, what? I had to put a muzzle on. And this is pre-COVID, so I didn't even know what a muzzle was. And so I'm like, all right, whatever, we're game, we paid. And so you go down and you change, you disrobe, and then they give you a bathrobe and you put it on. And so you go from they have steam rooms, they have saunas, they have hot, big jacuzzis, and then cold pools. And this is Whistler, way up in Canada. And so it's cold. It's cold outside, right? It's very cold outside. So we did, we just went from thing to thing, and you kind of walk around, and if you whisper, then you almost feel like you're doing something wrong because nobody's talking, it's super quiet, which was very interesting. But it was a cool experience.
Whistler?
Yeah, I whispered and whistled. I didn't whistle. So the weird thing is everywhere you go, you have a swimsuit on underneath, but everywhere you go, you have to put your bathrobe, you have to hang it up, right? And I kept thinking to myself, you can't tell. They're all the same. They're all these white bathrobes. How do you really know that it's yours? Some places there's 40 people in this thing or 20 people, and there's all these bathrobes, right, lined up. And so I figure it must happen all the time. And I'm thinking it. And I'm walking after we went in the sauna and we're walking along and I'm like, what? Bathrobe feels different. And it had a hoodie, but the other ones didn't have a hoodie on it. And I'm going, oh no. And then I look down and there's a monogram, it's somebody's personal bathrobe, right? That I have now just taken and I'm walking around in. And I'm like, oh man, I'm going to get caught. I need to go back to the scene of the crime and switch it out, right? And so
even with all of that thinking that you're going to mix them up,
it happened.
Decided to pick out of 40 robes, the one robe that was different.
I think that, everything looked the same except that it had that hoodie, or maybe it didn't have a hoodie and the other ones did. I can't remember the exact details, but I'm like, okay, I need to go back. I have to stealthily go back and do a switch. And so I walk in the thing and there's this guy and he's frantically looking around the bathrobe area. And I'm like, oh no, that's the guy. And so I left and I come back out and I go, honey, the guy's in there. He's in there and he's looking for his bathrobe. And she's like, well, too bad. And so I go back in there and I said, hey, I think I accidentally took your bathrobe. And, somebody's like, shh. And this guy just looks at me and I hand it to him. It's all wet because I'd been, wearing it. And he's like, but it's all wet. That's what he said.
He said that?
Yeah, he said, but it's all wet now. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And I went and grabbed another dry one, which probably wasn't mine also, and put that one on and got out of there. So we have to figure out how to tie that back to insurance, marketing your agency. Maybe it's details.
You know what I'll tell you?
Well,
yeah, it is details. So here's the thing. Every day can be very monotonous in the agency. I was just listening to something.
And some chaos too.
Yeah. And without a hard GPS on what you're doing and the ultimate goal, it's really easy to just go through your day almost aimlessly. You know what I mean? And then you wonder, oh, this year, like as we're coming up to the end of this year, man, it just went by fast and you didn't really do much.
Right.
If that's happening, it's what were your goals at the beginning of the year?
Right.
Why weren't you setting hard goals?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. You can't just randomly hang your bathrobe up. You need to have a spot to put that bathrobe, and you have to know where that spot is so that you can come back to that bathrobe, put it on, and not make somebody else's bathrobe wet.
Right. You don't want to make that mistake.
Right. And yeah, it's just so
It'll
great.
ruin your bath day.
Yeah.
How was your soak that day?
Yeah, I couldn't even look at him anytime we passed each other in different areas. It was a little uncomfortable. Luckily, he couldn't say anything.
And how much did you pay to do it that day?
I don't know. I think I made Chris pay for it.
So with that being said, that little detail, because you weren't paying attention to the details, kind of ruined the day.
No, not for me. I had a great time.
I mean, the other guys did.
Well, that's his problem. You know, I don't know that there's any advantage to bringing your own bathrobe.
I would say there's probably more of a disadvantage.
Right.
Because Mr. Craig's probably going to put it on.
That's right.
On his hot, steamy, sweaty.
That's right. So why would you subject yourself to that?
I wouldn't.
Right. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So again, it's like this guy was trying to reinvent the wheel, right? He had to do it his way when there's a certain way to do it that he could have just had a grand old time and not had any problems. I think you and I have been reading a lot of the same books lately. One of those books talks about how important it is to not reinvent the wheel, right? Don't reinvent the wheel. And I think we touched base on it a few episodes back with Thomas Edison, right? How many different filaments did he use? If you're going to go create a light bulb, why don't you start where Thomas Edison left off, not before he started conducting his research and tested 8,000 different filaments, right? To find the best burning one. Did I lose you, Mr. Jason? Oh. No. You seem distracted.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, this story's all over the place. And if you're listening, you might be a little distracted yourself.
Well, I thought that I'd bring in a little fun, lightheartedness, because you've got to enjoy yourself at what you're doing.
You do.
Or it's
you do have to enjoy yourself.
It goes back to that M word that you brought up, monotonous, right? You don't want it to be monotonous.
That's right. 100%.
So if they want to text you, Mr. Jason, 520-214-2219, that goes straight to Mr. Jason's phone. He will respond and send you his credit card information so you can go charge something.
Either that or a fun emoji.
Or a fun emoji. One or the other.
Emoji.
Or his credit card information.
Or my credit card.
So it's a crapshoot. But the only way that you can find out is by texting it. And if you happen to have your phone in front of you, whip that thing out and just crank down on that subscribe button. Pound it.
There could be some good sound effects in there if your sound effects thing worked.
Let's see if this does anything. Nothing.
All right. And that's a coffee talk.
That's a coffee talk. Coffee talk. Coffee talk.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, Mr. Craig.
That was another awesome episode, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if people want to get a little bit more action and learn how to do write 100,000 in premium
yes.
off of even the worst internet leads, where could they go?
They can go to live.teledudes.com.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. Are we going to be there?
Yes. It's a weekly call that we're doing right now it's live and it will show you the process. The entire process is super awesome.
I love it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Sign up right now. Live.teledudes.com.
Live.teledudes.com. That's live.teledudes.com.
Hey, Craig, there's a new community that we are starting that I cannot wait to tell everybody about. It is our live texting community where you and I are going to answer people's questions and give them free content, right?
Are you kidding me? We get to talk to them?
Yeah, which is awesome, but they have to opt in. They have to text us at 520-214-2219. 520-214-2219. That's 520-214-2219.
Nice. I'm gonna
Craig, are
text
you going to
now.
respond to these texts?
I'm going to respond to them for sure. Live.
I'm into it too. It's going to be
Well-
awesome. And it's going to be our new texting community where we're going to get back to everybody that we can and drop some crazy content, free content, and free the calculator that you just came up with. That's right. The calling calculator, sales material. I mean, everything for insurance agents. This is it. It's the best texting community out there for insurance agents.
Well, what the heck is that number again? I can't remember it.
It's 520-214-2219. That's
Okay.
520-214-2219.
I love it. I'm going to text it right now.
520-214-2219.
All right. I'll see you later, Mr. Jason.
Bye, Mr. Craig.
Wait, do they even listen to this on the radio anymore?
I love it. I love it.
Nice.
All right.